What's up, guys? Welcome back to another amazing YouTube video. Here joined by your boy Gigs, and I'm also here joined by my good friends Luke and Evelyn, who are, well, they're no longer with us because they died just researching this topic. And quite frankly, I did not research this at all, so that's why I'm the only survivor. But I'm here to redeem myself. And so today I will be talking about the French Revolution and Darwin's theory of evolution, and basically just explaining if evolution is a part of the revolution. French friends from the revolution.
Yes, I'm from the revolution, and I just think it's a wonderful time. Just don't get killed.
Well, now that, and these often involve like a huge change within like the way the government is run, you know, like the political powers, the powers in play, societal norms and stuff like that, and even the institutions in play. And well, the people take over. Basically, they throw over the government, and so boom, new government in place. Though it's often bloody, and a lot of people die. I think it's about time we talk about the French Revolution. I don't think your parents ever told you this, so I'm gonna be the one to break it to you. So, when a revolutionary won a revolution, they revolt. And so, that's exactly what happened. Well, brief overview, in 1787 from 1791, the French Revolution is going on, but it reached one of its many climaxes in 1789. That's the wrong time. Basically, the revolutionaries were mad, and so they were like, the Bastille! And they stormed the Bastille, and they stole a bunch of weapons, and that's just kind of where it all started. From there, stuff like liberalism, not the kind we have now. Conservatism, also not the kind we have now. Well, to the origins of it, the French Revolution, well, it had many probable causes. It's not just one exact cause. There were quite a bit of evidence that like this is one of the most violent like revolutions in history. One such example of this would be that like during this time, the feudal system during this time was kind of like on a sharp decline. What I'm talking about is like the social construct that was happening during this time. So the feudal regime, like I said, is just kind of on a decline. And during this time in Europe, a lot of the commoners, they started gaining a lot of wealth, a lot of money, and they eventually formed what was the middle class, the bourgeois, something like that. They basically just kind of wanted political power in countries in Europe where they would not grant it, and so they just kind of had a problem with that. So basically, during this time as well, the French, well, Europe as a whole was having like a higher standards of living, and this caused the mortality rate to kind of decrease a little bit, and that caused France's population to bloom and caused it to have 26 million inhabitants. Can you believe that? Having that many people to feed? Speaking of that, and along with an economic crisis happening in France caused, and a lot of consumer good demands caused grains to plummet, like the stock of grains to plummet, that's what I mean. While this is like lower class, so the upper class people had a lot of that because obviously they could afford it, and yeah. And well, another thing was that France were fighting a lot of overseas war because they just didn't want to be home, just like me. They, especially with like the French and Indian War and assisting the American Revolution, their bank accounts were left dry like mine. So because of this, King Louis XVI decided, hey, we should raise taxes on the poor people, the commoners, while literally not raising taxes at all for the noblemen or even the clergy. And so this caused the commoners to think that the clergy and the noblemen were entitled. And well, in order to try and eliminating the national debt, the general finance person, what's his name? Hold up. Charles Alexander de Colonne, I probably mispronounced that, decided to summon an assembly. Charles Alexander de Colonne, I probably mispronounced that, decided to summon an assembly made up of the noblemen and the bourgeois, you know, the middle class. And he kind of proposed that maybe we should raise the taxes for like the people, you know, like the noblemen, but they kind of didn't want to deal with that, especially not the assembly. They didn't really want to deal with the complications of that. And so they decided that it might be best to summon the Estates General to figure out how to pay off the national debt. And probably something that your parents did tell you is that there was an Estates General. Basically, the three estates, you know, we always see, you know, the first one, the clergy, noblemen, and then the commoners. They kind of vote on public things they have concerns about. And so when they had brought this up, this caused the higher and the upper class people to kind of outrage you, like, no, I don't want that. And so that kind of led No! And then another state assembly, another state general was formed on May 5th. Summoned another one to talk about other concerns. And well, look at this. So a nobleman just appeared out of here. How are things like in France right now?
Whoa, it's going fine. Don't mind the depression and all, but heck, I love it there.
Exactly. They're
It's
happy.
a good of France.
And even though the third estate had the most amount of people, they actually had the least amount of representation because of the way the votes were. Basically, the votes counted as each group had one vote for them. The first estate had one vote to them, the second estate had another vote to them, and the third estate had another vote, so it's kind of unfair. And because of this, the third estate kind of became unhappy, and so they went inside this kind of room and they declared themselves as the National Assembly, where they would, and well, they decided that they would do stuff without the approval of the States General, and because, you know, they weren't having enough representation. And so in response to this, the king, he kind of just went over and he was like, nope, I'm locking this place down. And so that kind of left the people wondering, where do we go? And so they snuck into the tennis court, and then they swore an oath called the tennis court oath, where they would never break away until the king made a new constitution. And so in response to this, the king, he sent like a ton of troops to Paris, kind of pressured the tennis court people, you know, to kind of force them out. But to the storming of the Bastille, the king finally was like, okay, fine. Oh, this is revolution, fine at work. Speaking of revolution, I have a joke to go on with this, because we're going to talk about evolution, and what better way to kick things off with a joke? Why is diarrhea like evolution? It runs in your genes! So we all know Charles Darwin, right? He's the one who came up with evolution. Basically, he spent a lot of time studying organisms in the wilderness, you know, and well, he came up with a theory. Through natural selection, there are animals in the wild, and those animals, the organisms, I should say more like, organisms with like the better trait, the stronger organisms with like the stronger, better trait, they are more likely to survive and pass on those organisms onto their offsprings. And those offsprings are probably also more likely to give it to their offsprings, and then their offsprings to their offsprings, and that's how it works. Organisms that are stronger survive. Organisms that are weaker don't. What are the similarities between them? Well, to think about it, the French Revolution happened because of stuff that's happening within the French people's environment. As we just described, the commoners are going through a lot of pressure. Like, they kind of had to adapt to the environment. To evolve past it, they need to adapt to it. Just like how an organism needs to evolve past their issues, and they need to adapt to their environment. Evolution is technically like a biological thing. Well, the French Revolution, well, it's more like a societal thing. I know that my two greatest ancestors, Evelyn and Luke, they were trying to find out a question. What's fine question? So many questions. The question? Well, are revolutions a natural part of human evolution and human systems? With what I could probably find and gather, I think it's safe to say that my friends Luke and Evelyn would say yes. Because, no, a natural part of evolution is needing to go past what we have. Like, we need to survive. And that's how we are here today, because we needed to survive. A lot of things that happened to us is evolution. We needed to survive. Kind of like how the commoners needed to survive. If they needed France to survive, then they would have to evolve. France would have to evolve. Just like how an organism wants to survive, it has to evolve. And so just like how the French Revolution happened, evolution actually happens because things naturally need to evolve. They need to go past things. And so that's why I can say with confidence that my friends Evelyn and Luke, whose souls may rest in peace, would like to say that evolutions and revolutions are a part of human systems and humans as we know it, and evolution. Dang it! I knew I shouldn't have tried talking about this is why they died. They researched this. I shouldn't have either. I'm so foolish. And for that, thank you for watching. I appreciate every single last one of you. You guys make my memory live on forever, so please never forget what this video meant. I hope this doesn't happen to you guys. Probably won't. You don't have to research this. Thank you. Luke? Is that you, Luke, Evelyn?